Our next inductee represents women's swimming. At Clarion, in 3 years, she was an 11-time All-American. And back at that time, there wasn't an NCAA program for women. So the women were, when they went to nationals, it was the AIAW. And that's what Clarion swam in. So she was an individual national champion in the AIAW, which would have been the NCAA, in the 100 backstroke. 2-time team national champion, 9 PSAC individual and 3 PSAC team champions, 5 Clarion records, and a Division I national qualifier. I give you Diane Picking-Watson. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's a devout Eagles fan.
Yes, I am.
We were trying to find out who the Eagles drafted tonight, but I couldn't find out for you before we started. I don't know if you went on the tour. How did you like the pool?
The pool is beautiful. They have it flipped around on us, but
They did. Where the
Yeah,
diving
that's
well
right.
used to be now,
Right.
there's swimming
Right.
pool offices and all that.
yes, it's beautiful.
Could you imagine coming back and swimming now?
No, I can't imagine coming back and swimming now, actually.
When you were in high school and looking for a place to swim, you talked so glowingly about the recruiting process and what Carol Clay did for you. You want to start by talking about that?
Sure. Well, basically first I met with Carol Clay at our state meet and met with some of the other girls that ended up coming here. And she was young and so enthusiastic, and I could just tell that she was very driven. And that's what I had a coach in high school that way, and I just knew that it would be a good fit for me.
So you come to Clarion and you're a freshman. Did you ever imagine that that kind of success was laying ahead, or maybe you did?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had no idea what we could do.
So your backstroke, individual medley, and the way the swimming coaches are, anytime you can score points, throw them into freestyle, relays. You did just about everything except butterfly.
And breaststroke.
And breaststroke. What were practices like trying to hone all these different strokes?
Well, I think at that point, pretty much, you have your strokes down, but it was just a matter of getting better. And Carol was very good at that with us. We had a very strict training regimen. We had to lift weights. We had to run. Sometimes we would find ourselves in other places we shouldn't be, take a little shortcuts, but it was very grueling. And then once we were able to get into the water and train, we were required to do 3 doubles a week.
Explain that.
Well, that means that we have to get up at 6:30 in the morning and go train for 2 hours, get dressed,
Go to
class, and then come back and do it all over again, which
Yeah.
was extremely grueling.
Now, I know Coach Miller, when I was working, they would go so many yards a day. Was that still a regimen that they talked about, how many yards you would do
Yes.
at those workouts?
Yes.
Do you remember them really well?
Pretty much, we would go, I think, between about 8,000 yards and sometimes with the doubles more than that. So it was a lot of swimming.
And this was all to prep just for the end of the season.
Correct.
So that's a long season.
It was a long season.
So at the end of the season, you guys win PSACs, and then you go to nationals.
Yes.
And there you are, standing on the podium 100 breaststroke or backstroke champion.
Yes.
Tell me what that might have felt like.
Well, I have to say it was pretty unreal. Never in a million years would I ever thought that I would be able to accomplish such a feat. And
I mean, when you were on the blocks for your final race, what's going through your mind? I mean, you're a freshman.
well, I'm going to say that, I'm going to kind of improvise here and say that it was a high school coach of mine. Her name was Ann Dallin from Cumberland Valley High School. She clipped out a little poem out of Dear Abby. And
I know you know this off by heart.
I do, I've said it thousands of times. Anyway, the poem reads like this. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you want to win, but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. For out in the world, it's not only the stronger or faster man who wins, it's the man who thinks he can. I said that before every single swim race from the time Carol or Ann Dallin had given it to me through college. And to me, that helped a lot. You know, it's basically the power of positive thinking.
And so the team then wins the national championship. Again, can you imagine that?
No, we couldn't. We were extremely excited, extremely excited. We never thought that we would be able to accomplish such a goal.
The next season, you
We repeated.
repeat and
Yes.
win the national championship.
Yes.
You, on the other hand, during the nationals, weren't feeling so well.
No, I was not able to compete in many events that year. I ended up getting the flu, and so I was just there cheering my girls on.
But you still did swim early on, and you still did, I think, make All-American a few times and
Yes.
all that.
Yes.
And then your junior year, you guys again repeat PSACs.
Right.
You had a great meet.
Yes, I
I
did.
want to say you won every event you swam in, just about, except for one, I think.
I was 5, probably all but 2.
How was that? You must have been really hitting on all cylinders. You know, I mean, to go to a state meet and win that many events, that's really tough.
It is. And I have to say that the motivation that Carol gave to us was tremendous. She was just, you know, such a good motivator, and she pushed us to the max.
Now, at that point, I think the nationals were in Reno.
Yes.
And explain sort of what happened there and why.
Well, that wasn't real fun. We were so excited to go to Reno because, you know, who wouldn't want to go to Reno? And once we got there, little did we know that swimming at 4,500 feet of elevation was not very conducive for good results because we didn't train at that level. So we were a little oxygen deprived. So we ended up coming in 5th place. Anybody that pretty much swam over a 50 didn't even come close to their best time. So it was, you know, extremely disappointing for us. I mean, 5th place isn't so bad, but
Not for
to
oth-
us
not for-
it was.
Yeah, not for other people, but for you guys.
Well, you know, we had already won 2 times, and, you know, when you're not swimming your best, it doesn't make you feel so good.
You developed some special relationships with the women that you swam with. I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit. I wanted to give you the time to express yourself on that.
Well, 3 of my girls are here today, and that would be Stephanie Crofton Carey, Lauren Murgatroyd Hasselquist, and Barb Capes. We were very close, and we pushed each other to the limit. It was like Lauren and I, we were direct competitors with each other. Thankfully, she was more of a sprinter, and I was a little bit more distance, so it was okay. We didn't get mad at each other. But we just, you know, we just worked very, very hard, and we wanted to do that for Carol because she was such a motivation for us.
Your senior year, you weren't able to swim. You want to say why?
I ended up getting extreme tendonitis in one of my shoulders, which actually they had to shoot me up with, I think today it would be called cortisone, but back in that time it was called butazolidine, which I don't know if anybody knows, but bute's a horse tranquilizer. So it was obviously a human form of that. But I dove in the water to swim states, and I couldn't even lift my arms. So I was benched from a lot of the events that I had to swim at states because she wanted to save me for nationals. So I was not really happy about that because I knew I could do it, but she wouldn't let me. So, so I had a decision to make at that time, and it was a hard one because swimming had been part of my life for a very, very long time. But I knew if I was not able to swim to my best ability, then I had to be done with it. So that was a decision I made, and I do have to say, because Coach Clay was retiring that same year, it made that decision easier for me. Because I think if she would have stayed, I probably would have wanted to keep going.
You would have tried to grind it out?
Probably would have. I don't know if I would have been successful or not.
Yeah,
Probably not.
those shoulders are painful injuries, and you're not the first or will be the last swimmer who's had, trouble with shoulders.
Right.
And since graduation, you've done tremendously. You want to just talk about that a little bit?
Well, I got married, and I worked as a purchasing manager or purchasing agent for quite a few years, and the company ended up going out of business. And at that point, I had children, and I wanted to stay home with my children and raise them, so I was able to be there for them, and as they got older, to be there in their athletic programs that they played.
Now, your email is tennis5859. You want to talk about that a little bit? I mean,
Well,
you're still active.
Yes, I still play a lot of tennis, and I also have picked up the game of golf since we retired in Florida 10 years ago. So yes, I stay very active. I don't swim so much anymore like the rest of them out there, but I still stay active.
And of course, you're still in touch with Carol.
Yes, I am in touch with Carol. Carol called me last week. We texted this morning. Yes, she's, it's amazing that we've stayed in touch for 48 years.
Yeah, it is amazing. Carol was here for a nice period of time, but she's been gone since 1979, 80.
Right.
And she still stays in touch with her athletes that were at Clarion. Of course, she's a Hall of Famer here at Clarion, but she wouldn't have any reason to if she didn't want to, but I guess it shows the kind of coach she was.
Right, yes.
And how much respect you guys had for her.
And we had a lot of respect for Carol.
Appreciate that. Any final thank yous or recognitions that you'd like to have?
Well, of course, I have to thank my parents who are no longer with us, but my mom that drove me all over the place for practice from, would drive 45 minutes to go train with a coach that was known to be very good. And all of those long swim meets. We all know that those swim meets are long and not very exciting. And of course, I have to thank my girls over there for being here and for being friends with me for 48 years. We don't get together too often, but we still do get together. And again, obviously I have to thank Carol Clay, because I would have not been the athlete I was without her, and also my high school coach, Ian Dallum. I would have not been able to be as good as to get recruited if it wasn't for her.
A national champion. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And my family. I cannot forget my family, who mean the world to me. And I have to thank them so much, and it means everything that they traveled all this way with these young children, getting sick in the car on the way. It was a long trip for them, and I just appreciate it very much.
And I present to you a national champion and now a Hall of Famer, Diane Picking Watson.